he was carrying an implant.
In 1993, after having an operation on my nose, separated septum, and believing that I had an implant, the laser treatment used for the separated septum surgery, I feel could have interfered with the workings of this implant, because 1 week after it, I had lost time in Central California, 52 minutes on my first trip between two small towns, and an hour and 5 minutes the following week. These two lost time scenarios occurred at a point on the highway where once I passed out and came to while still in the car driving it, I was placed 20 miles to the south of the highway system that I had originated on.
Another loss of time occurred during a trip from Zamora to Modesto.
These are grays that I was confronted with. And then behind the grays on this gurney were three taller individuals with dark clothing and a cloak-like type of fabric that went up over their heads. And they were just observing. The instruments that the aliens were using in my nose area, I believe, was being done in order to correct whatever problems that they were having with the implant that had been in my nose previously.
The author of the book Alien and the Scalpel, Dr. Roger Leir, explains about implants in humans. The book describes 8 operations, 8 objects taken from 8 different people and carefully analyzed.
The first surgical candidate was a female who had 2 objects which appeared on an X-ray that appeared to be ordinary objects that we use following foot surgery. So I suggested to him quite simply that the objects be removed and we could find out what they were and certainly solve the mystery. The first object that was removed from the toe of the lady was a T-shaped object like this, and then it was appeared to be a very dark gray, shiny in color, and covered with a very well-organized membrane or biological tissue, which you could not cut through, surprisingly, with a surgical blade. The second object removed from the toe was a small cantaloupe seed shaped and sized material, also covered with the same very dark, gray, shiny, well-organized membrane.
Neither the casing nor the matter of the objects are of this world. The surrounding tissue reveals strange things.
Now, first of all, the analysis of the tissue in the body that surrounded the objects was quite interesting, because it showed little nerve cells in very high numbers called nerve proprioceptors, and in an area of the fatty anatomy where these cells are non-existent. They don't belong. That was indeed a surprise. The second biggest surprise was that the soft tissue contained absolutely no evidence of an inflammatory response, which brings the question, how does one get a foreign object into the body and not have the body react to it with either inflammation or rejection? Well, as most of us know, this is relatively impossible. When you see this, let's say, in one individual and look at the statistics, you could conclude that this was a strange anomaly for one individual. When you see it from 2 individuals, then it gets a little bit stranger, but then when you see it in multiple individuals, the statistics become phenomenal, and it is extremely unusual and almost impossible. The next set of biological findings come from actually the membrane that surrounds the object itself. The membrane we found was composed of 3 materials which are a part of the natural systems of the body. And one is a collection of what is called a protein coagulum, which simply means that is protein derived from clotted blood. And in this mass of protein, there are some dark brown granules, which are hemosiderin. This is an iron pigment, and this iron pigment then binds with oxygen, as does hemoglobin in red cells. And the third portion of this membrane is simply keratin, which is the outer layer of the skin. Now, any of these things are all common to the body, but there is no textbook, to my knowledge, that shows that there is an entity that has ever been removed from the human body that is composed of these 3 materials. And surprisingly enough, this membrane, when you try and cut through it in its living state or its fresh state, it's impossible to cut through.
The implants have been carefully scrutinized by prestigious labs. Some metallic samples are iron-based, but the steel is harder than anything on Earth. Some elements are similar to earthy ones, but the way they are configured is like nothing on Earth. Some labs report the similarity with the meteorites, hence not earthly objects. So now we tilt the globe and go down under to Australia. Mary Rodwell. Mary Rodwell, hello, hello. Johan, are we connected?
We are ready, Dave.
The walls of Mary Rodwell's treatment room have borne witness to strange tales.
And so for me, this has been something that's become very much my mission, is to say to other colleagues and therapists in the mental health professionals, look, this isn't psychosis. This is a real experience. I know it's real, and I have enough evidence now to show you that it's real. And I was actually doing advanced counselling at an institute in Perth, and I took one of my clients' case study in supervision to a whole group of professionals. One of them was actually a uniting minister of all things. And I spent the next hour saying, these are all the things that are happening to this person. These are all the hypotheses, from mental illness right to paranormal experience to the abductee experience. What do you think? What do you know of this? And what I found was that nobody knew about this. I was educating them. And interestingly, the uniting minister, he never said a word. He didn't give me any information about what he would believe from a theological point of view. I found that very fascinating. But for me, I found that I was the only one amongst that group of 20 people that had any understanding. And these are people within the mental health professional. You know, these are the ones that actually are there for people with a whole range of issues, and yet they didn't know about this experience. So I knew that I had to do my own research and had to find out more about this for myself, because psychology at the moment does not recognize this. Even though I know, and many other people know now, that Bud Hopkins is saying, and John Mack is saying, 5% of Americans, that's the tip of the iceberg. We're hearing 6 to 8 million perhaps in America. That may be the tip of the iceberg. We may be looking at, and I believe we're looking at, millions and millions of people with this experience and being in total isolation with this because they cannot talk about it, because society as yet says this isn't part of reality. Society from religion says this is not part of our reality. Science says this is not part of our reality. So where do people go? Where do people go?
Not so well. Actually, I think we did well. It had a In our next episode, we will continue to explore some of the things the aliens are already doing here on Earth, and why. Why the mutilations, why the cloning of humans, why the abductions of fetuses, the implants, and so on. We will also shed some new and shocking light on the mystery of the assassination of President Kennedy, as well as review some of his remarks about UFOs. In fact, we're going to shake the very foundations of Darwinism and physics as we know them today. And we will also show how Pentagon is spending enormous, or shoving enormous amounts of money, millions and millions of dollars of ET technology research under a carpet they call the Black Program. So make sure you watch soon on this channel.